Hello, good evening. I'm Kim Wilson with the Morgan County Republican Club with Ryan Ziprick and our new friend, Kyle Moore from Quincy, who is running for the 99th District to replace Randy Freese. So we're going to do Republican news and interviews with him and ask him a few questions. So Kyle, we would like to ask you first about your background. Could you give us some background information about you?
Sure.
Thank
Well,
you.
first I just want to say thank you for the invitation. It was great crowd tonight, and good back and forth. And I was happy to come here and introduce myself because the 99th District is new. It's only been around for about a year. And so, I always start with the 99th District, and Randy Freese is retiring, not running against C.D. Davidsmeyer. So, and it's important people know the 99th District is Quincy to Jacksonville and South Jacksonville, and C.D. unfortunately is not in that district as they played a little game with the redistricting map not too long ago. So just for our friends in Morgan County, want to make sure they know that. But just a little bit about me. I was born in Quincy, raised in Galesburg, Illinois, moved back down to Quincy to go to John Wood and QU, worked for my family business, Moore's Floors, where I eventually became a part owner. And after college was really involved in my community. When I was 18, became a big brother. I was a big brother for 11 years.
Awesome.
That was really important to me as I had a mentor growing up when I was younger, and even was on the board of the West Central Illinois Big Brothers Big Sisters, which touched all the counties of the 99th District, including Morgan County, and I was board chair as well. And besides my work there, was happy to be involved with Adams County United Way, Adams County Right to Life. I was on their board. And then in 2008, I'd always been involved with the Republican Party. I was been a precinct committeeman for a long time. I was a Young Republicans chairman, trying to get more young people involved in our party, and ran for the city council. I was against a 16-year incumbent. I was just unhappy with a few of the votes that he had made, and happened to win that race, and did that by good old-fashioned shoe leather, knocking on doors.
And you said he was a Democrat.
He was a Democrat. So City of Quincy, for those that are not in there, is partisan elections. So you have to know or have to say a party. And, it's also important to know that the Democrats in the City of Quincy on the City Council, when I ran, had control of the City Council for over 67 years. 67
Amazing.
years.
Astonishing,
67 years. Yeah. And we would take over for control in 2011, I believe, and I was elected in 2009. But they had control of the council for quite a while. And then I was happy. It was a great experience to be a third ward alderman. I did some things like putting the city budget online, passing a 21-day inspection period online, so that way citizens had the right to look at any proposed budgets before it was passed. But more importantly, my favorite nights were when we hosted town halls, because I think it's important for elected representatives to get in front of constituents and hear from them. And we were happy to host 2 town halls a year as an alderman. And then in 2012, I announced that I would run for mayor. And since we're, again, talking the Republican Club here, the Republican had not been elected mayor in the city of Quincy since 1981. And this was 2012.
Again, astonishing.
Yeah. And so I ran against a 2-term mayor who was seeking a 3rd term, and was fortunate enough to win, and focused on a lot of things that I'm proud of. I'm sure we'll talk about, but that's kind of my background before being mayor of the city of Quincy.
Yeah. And you mentioned during the meeting that you won pretty good in that mayoral race.
Yeah, 57%. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, 57% against a 2-term incumbent. So, and we were outspent. I believe he raised about $175,000. And what happens is all of a sudden there were these nursing homes from across Illinois who were investing $500 in this Quincy mayor's race. And so, we had all this outside money, but we overcame that by meeting as many people as we could, by talking issues that were important to them, and the voters rewarded us, and again, being the first Republican elected in 2013 since 1981.
That's a big feat.
Congratulations.
Big time.
Yes.
And we talked about, especially in the meeting, your accomplishments as mayor, and you came in during the COVID time, and there's a lot of restrictions you had to fight with the governor Pritzker about. You had to work with your city council. Would you like to get into any of the COVID restrictions?
We'll do COVID in a minute, but the first thing that we had to tackle in the city of Quincy, because it's not unlike the state of Illinois, we had 3 decades of one-party rule, and that meant we had budgets that were overspending our revenue. We had unbalanced budgets by $1.8 million. And my first term, we were able to pass the first balanced budget since since 1999. And we also were dwindling our savings account every year. When I came in office, we had $1.1 million, which sounds like a lot, but it was about 2 weeks worth of operating expenses. And so I'm a fiscally conservative guy, and I thought we need to make sure we have a balanced budget. We need to raise our savings account. And we raised, in my 8 years, from $1.1 million to $6.5 million. And that came in handy because in 2015, we had a windstorm that ended up costing us over $1 million. And so had we only had that $1 million in the bank, we would have had no savings account. And so we did that. Very happy to, when I was mayor, to start the Quincy Promise, which is a privately funded scholarship program for seniors to go into manufacturing, healthcare, and agriculture through John Wood Community College. And as you talked about, we did have COVID, and that was a very tough time. But we followed President Trump's lead. He had a plan called Opening Up America Again, I believe it was called. And when he gave those guidelines, we got our business leaders, our medical industry professionals, and our community leaders together to have the first plan to reopen a community submitted to the governor. And there were some things the governor liked about that, some of the things that he didn't. He, of course, as you know, had his own reopening plan. And, one of the things during COVID that I found that I was really scratching my head about was how the General Assembly really abdicated any responsibilities. Here we had a governor that was giving executive orders, state of emergencies out for almost 2 years. And whether it be Jacksonville, whether it be Mount Sterling, whether it be Quincy or Beardstown, a mayor cannot do that. There needs to be check and a balance for whomever's in office. And so, I think that is a total failure of responsibility from the General Assembly. Of course, the House Republicans were pushing for, the governor to include the state legislature in his decision-making process, and he didn't.
Right.
Yeah. And we were pushing, we were pushing in that his plans were going to keep our restaurants closed till July 4th, and that was in early May. We had a medically based plan that judged our reopening based on the amount of hospital beds, PPE that we had available, but we did it with community input, and I think that's the most important. It was a very trying time for everybody, and it's very easy to look in a crystal ball now and say, well, this is how the plays should have been done. But what we wanted to make sure is that we make sure that we match the character of our community. Of course, there are obviously things that we could have done different and wish we could have done different, but we also fought him. He came down when we had a high infection rate, and we said we need more supplies and we need more testing kits, and we opened a drive-through testing facility, which it was voluntary. We were able to test 1,000 people a day through that facility, and because of that, we were able to take our infection rate from right around 21% to under 7%.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good open up. Yep.
Yeah.
We're here with Kyle Moore, running for state representative in the new 99th district. Thank you again for coming to our meeting.
Sure.
When you do get elected and become our new state representative, what are 3 accomplishments or big issues you want to tackle when you go to the General Assembly?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I think it's important for constituents to know that I'm here to listen to them. So I mentioned having town halls as an alderman, but I also did that as mayor because I think it's important to get in front of constituents and hear the issues that are going on in everyone's day-to-day life. So you're going to have somebody that's around, somebody that's listening to you. And second, being a good state representative, as we know with CD, as we know with Randy, is having good constituent services, being an advocate. There are times, surprisingly or not, that the state of Illinois does not work on behalf of our residents. In fact, sometimes it makes it really difficult to get things, whether it be a FOID card, the other things that are happening. And so you need somebody that's in elected office who can untangle that web a little bit and make it easier to experience the services of the state of Illinois. And so to be that constituent service person for the residents of the 99th district is important. And lastly, to be a voice for the district in Springfield. There are many different constituencies in the 99th district. I don't pretend to know everything about every issue, so it's important for me to come and hear from constituents, as we talked about first, to learn why issues are affecting them, how they're affecting them, and then go to Springfield and tell that story. And I believe when we tell a good story, we can accomplish good things in the state of Illinois. And one of the things I talked about was the Illinois Veterans Home in the city of Quincy.
Yes.
So when I was mayor, we had a Legionella outbreak. And for those at home, the Illinois Veterans Home has been around since the 1890s. It houses over 300 veterans and employs 500 of our residents in Adams County and throughout West Central Illinois. Because of the Legionella outbreak, there were calls to close it from both sides of the aisle. And we were able to get a bipartisan group together that stopped the closure of that home, but also talked about the care that veterans deserve, not only today, but in the future. And now there's a new state-of-the-art facility being built in Quincy, Illinois. So I think in government, when you come at issues with the right mindset, when you come to it with a full heart and get people involved, you can get a lot of things done. And that new veterans home that we're getting is proof of that.
That is just fantastic. You've got quite a list of accomplishments there. Yeah, that's really fantastic. And I'm glad that we're having this interview so we can share this with people and people can get to know you. So, yes. All right. So we're going to close up here. We thank Kyle so much for coming and speaking tonight. Thank you for doing our interview together. Yes. And we're signing out. God bless. Have a great evening.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.